Hey everybody, happy Monday. It's the holiday season, so normally Ask a Painter Live comes to you live Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. Central, but since it was Christmas, I wanted to spend some time with my family and decompress a little, and I wanted to respect everybody else's weekend, so modified schedule this week. This is the Ask a Painter Live show. I am Nick Slavik. I am the host of the Ask a Painter Live show. I'm also the proprietor of the Nick Slavik Painting and Restoration Company. I've been doing this show for over 5 years. I believe this is 291, 292. I just typed it in, can't remember, but we've never missed a week in over 5 years. So I've been able to come to you from amazing places all over the world, all over the country, and it's likely we'll probably still fit in a ice fishing show where I do it from a shanty on a frozen lake here in Minnesota. That's usually one of my most popular shows. Special stuff that's going on right now. I am not in my painting clothes. My family's on the other side. We're getting ready for family movie night because it is Monday. My entire company has this week off, but obviously people can volunteer to work. And we had a bunch of people volunteer to work. So thank you to my team for everybody pushing this forward. I've been monitoring Slack, which I'll show you and talk about a little bit later to make sure people are supported. But basically, folks, this is a week off where I can hang out with my family. I did get pulled in for one day. Tomorrow, I'll be going on a secret mission with the Jason Paris. We had some travel that got rescheduled because of some crazy winter snowstorms. So tomorrow, Jason and I are loading up, going to an undisclosed secret location to do some business. I have an interview in the evening with a very special person, and that's it. Then I go back on family time. So normally I would have taken this whole week off, but because some things got rescheduled, tomorrow we have that. So hey everybody. Also folks, this is an open show. I just finished about an 80% redecoration and update of this war room. This is my command center, my office, my personal, very selfish office attached to my own house. And I'll give you a tour. I'll show you some very special objects that I've been given and collected over the years, or that mean a lot to me. And then this is an open show. Any topic, any question, anything you guys want, just type it in below and we will get to it. I see everybody saying the hellos. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll get to all your questions. It may be 15, 20 minutes till we get to them, depending on how long of time I talk about this stuff. But I do want you guys to know that anything you want to talk about tonight, I am here for you. So I'm loaded up with a little stuff to keep me from not getting dehydrated. We got Wonder Pup Sig here, keeping me busy. It's a absolute wonderful place in the winter here. The Slavik House, which we built 2 years ago, 3,200 square feet of all hydronic in-floor heat. So this is industrial chemical lab epoxy on the floor because I like light and bright. And my little puppy Sig is lying right where the heat is, right on top of the heater. We have a 3,200 square foot heater right under us, and you can feel that nice penetrative heat come right from under you. So, all right, folks, I am not going to wait any longer. I'm going to give you a little tour of what we got here going on at the war room. We're going to start off with the command center. I'm going to just wet my whistle here quick. Let's turn this sucker around. So, first thing you're going to notice here is obviously stand-up desk. This is what the cool kids do. This is what us millennials do. No more do we sit at this fake wood Formica desk anymore. We want to stand, we want to sit, we want to be healthy, we want to make sure our bodies are okay. It just gives us some variety during the day. So I got my electronic setup here so we can go, there we go. We can go down, we can go up. So I ordered mine without a top because I like to surround myself with substantial things that will outlive me and most of my kids, but also things that are meaningful. So this is going to be the theme through everything I'm going to show you here tonight. This top is made out of solid red oak, and you can see there's a bunch of nail holes. Even in the end here, there's a bunch of little square nails that were put in here for lath. When I owned my historic home in New Prague, in the heart of New Prague, a 100-year-old craftsman home, which me and my wife Toots hand restored, outside, inside, everything. I tested all my restoration theories over the years. All of our kids were born there. I started a business there. Many of our most important life events happened there. It was a meaningful little place to us. It was hard for us to leave, but the place across the street was a home built in the 1800s, and they had some water damage in the attic. And the owner, who's a friend of mine, came over and was like, man, I cannot even pound a nail into that wood. I can't even get a screw in that stuff. I'm ripping it all out and starting over. And I was like, tell me more. You can't even get a nail into that wood, huh? So he ripped off all the wood, threw it on the curb. True 2-inch by 4-inch solid red oak. Now, this stuff came out of a home built in the 1880s, 1890s, give or take. It could have been 100 to 200 years old then. So what you might be looking at here is somewhere, we know, at least probably 150 years old. Most likely somewhere between 150 and 250 years old. Pieces of wood right here. They have all the iron stains from all the nails. We got some knots, we got some inclusions. But I milled all this stuff. I made my own milling equipment to try to get it as straight as I could. We glued it together. And then I hand applied Old Master's Super Varnish Satin, which is one of the coolest finishes you can ever use. It's kind of old school, it's kind of new school. It gives one of the most perfect dull finishes. And you can brush this sucker. Here, let me see if I can give you guys this thing here. You can brush this sucker and get this out of it. It is like, it's an amazing finish, So same thing I actually did on the war room table here, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But that is the heart of what I do, my little command center here. So we have a fully updated system. About 3 or 4 years ago, I went to the Jason Paris triple monitor setup where you have your middle one, your main one, and then 2 upright monitors like this. Now, it's interesting. I like to poke fun at Jason all the time because when people see this setup, they're like, oh, that's so awesome, I'm gonna do it. And then people will thank me on the internet, completely forgetting that I stole this red-handed from Jason Paris. So I always like to rub it into him and say, oh, look, I inspired another person. But really, Jason was the one who inspired me. Speaking of Jason Paris, who I'll be spending the day with tomorrow, very meaningful person in my life, keeps me in check. We keep each other in check on a lot of business, family, certain things. Starting on the theme of meaningful objects, these are, for those of you who aren't nerds, these are little computer keys. These are very special computer keys. Jason Paris has done all his homework, and there's something pandas, this and that, I don't know, it's all nerd talk to me, but he did all the research and he makes his own crazy split keyboards. They don't even have letters and numbers on them, but he gave me these for 2 iterations of his computers, and they mean a lot to me. This is very symbolic of our friendship and his interest in maximizing and being a utilitarian, and those things are meaningful to me. So, as promised, I keep those on the desk for Jason Paris. When he doesn't see them there, he asks me where they are. I have an HP main computer here, and I used to have 2 Dells, now I have 2 Samsungs. 4 or 5 years ago, give or take, I was inspired by Jason. I had my first setup, which was an HP and then 2 Dell units. And recently, because our leadership team was expanding, for those of you who haven't been watching, at the Slavik shop, #Slavik shop, we just built a brand new office there. And there are 4 other setups exactly like this, the stand-up desk with a triple monitor. And I actually let one of my project managers, who knows way more about computers than me, say, I gave him the mission. We need updated all-in-ones for the middle and 2 auxiliary monitors. He did his research, found them, bang, nailed it out of the park. Wonderful things. We tried out 4 for them. They all worked. I got another setup for me, and I actually just installed this about a week or 2 ago. And my old system is sitting in the closet there, retired now, but it's all updated. Amazing, amazing graphics, amazing, amazing sound, and it helps your eyes, and it really makes your workday go a lot better too. So, also, you see my studio lights up here, and my studio mic, my Rode. Anybody who knows Rode knows that those are serious setups here. Another special Jason to me, Shane Olson, how's it going? Shane Olson, my project manager who actually suggested all that stuff. Shane, well done, man. I'm very proud. When I go up into our offices, I see 4 setups of these things, all of it working perfectly. Thank you much, man. Well done. So another Jason that's very important to me is Jason Miller, Jason the painter from Minneapolis. Probably, I like to call him, and most people would agree, the coolest painter in North America. He legitimately has a lifestyle that makes every one of us jealous here. He is mastering the craft. He does carpentry. He's living in a condo high above one of the fanciest lakes in New Prague, watching sailboats. He's practicing his fine paints of Europe stuff. Right now he's making a custom gingerbread house. He is a guy who pushes everything to the limits. I love the way he talks. Now, he used to be I'm gonna get this wrong, the names and stuff, but the audio producer, a sound producer, a sound guy for Prince. Now, when I'm going to set up a system like this in my own house, and I have a friend who's a painter who used to be the audio guy for Prince, guess who I go for a lot of my studio setups? So between Jason and the people he knows, they selected these beautiful lights here. Again, a whole bunch of fun stuff up here. Let's see if you can see this here. So turning these things around, you can actually adjust the temperature of these things. If you can see that light, it's turning off and then turning cool. You can adjust it, yeah, between warm and cool and all sorts of other strobe effects and things like that. It is wild. Also, this Rode microphone, it works so well. I bought one for Jason Paris, another friend of mine. And yeah, so this really takes your audio to the next level. Now, the one big problem with my setup out here is I'm on cell service right now, and I wanted to make sure this was crystal clear. The problem is our internet stinks out here. We have like a bare copper wire running through the ditch, and when a snowplow goes by, we get fuzzy reception. It's just horrible. We don't have access to fiber. We don't have access to any of this fancy satellite stuff. So really, I am throttled down in my studio because I can't get that great internet that I used to have in town, that fiber internet. So really, I can't, we have, beautiful, beautiful top of the line webcam that comes with these things. I can't really go through my internet because it gets all fuzzy. So I have to go through cell service like this. So a lot of the times you see me in here, I'm actually on my Microsoft Surface because this is a cell-enabled tablet, and it's sitting here in front of all this stuff. So I've been working with the county. I've been working with my township to see what we can do for internet, and it looks like we're still a couple years out. So we'll see. I'm just gonna make do with what I can because living in the wilderness is a beautiful thing. I wish it was day so I could show you guys what my view is from my office. You would understand why I selfishly built this war room right on my house out in the country, even though we have offices in town, because I'm not an office guy. I'm not a clickety-clack guy. I'm not a sit in a chair all day guy. And if I do have to be in office for some of this, I need to be able to see wilderness. And there's pheasants, there's deer, there's turkey, there's all sorts of crazy wildlife going on out here that I see every day out this window. So, okay, let's move it on, folks. The War Room Conference Table. Sneaky trick. I love white oak. It's my favorite thing in the world. I'll show you something right behind me that I handmade. That was my big furniture project. But I love white oak more than anything else on earth. It is beautiful, especially when you quarter saw it. It gets this tiger rays in it, the crazy flecks. Here, I'll just show you. Look at this thing. I built that thing a whole bunch of years ago. This is solid white oak, and you can see that beautiful quarter sawn pattern. White oak will have, you can get standard white oak that has the cathedral pattern, just like this red oak here, that'll have that kind of ray pattern and stuff. You can rift saw it, which will be perfectly straight grain, or you can quarter it, which will then expose the medullary rays in there and give you that crazy tiger effect. If you go into a lot of historic homes, you're gonna see quarter sawn white oak. Not only is it beautiful and it shows a bunch of this weird stuff, it is actually some of the most stable hardwood on the planet. Yes, there are things like ebony and things that are exotics that are more dense, but this stuff is grown right in my backyard, and it's some of the finest wood on the face of the planet. More on that later. Sneaky trick for everybody. I did not mill up 1,000 pieces of wood for this. I was at my lumber yard when we built the Slavik house buying a bunch of white oak, flat sawn white oak for all my countertops. I built all my countertops out here. Because again, that white oak is basically rot proof. My kids can take hammers and pound into it. It barely makes a little dent, not like pine or maple or anything else. My war room table is actually made out of flatbed trailer decking. So I was at the lumberyard, at the place that custom saws trees, and I saw a huge stack of this. This is actually 4 chunks, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the wood is absolutely amazing. They pre-make it in about, I don't know, maybe 12-inch chunks like this, 12 or 14 feet long, and it's already put together like butcher block, like a bowling alley floor. And I saw that there, I was like, oh my God, this is all white oak. They use it for trailer decking because you can drive Caterpillars, tracked equipment on there. It is the hardest wood on the planet, and it doesn't get as slippery as if you made a decking out of metal, or as heavy as when you do out of metal. So this is actually only 4 pieces of that trailer decking. I milled it the best I could. I glued it together, and here it is. Solid white oak. It's a beautiful thing. Heavy as heck. Don't know if I can ever move it again. I will show you this. Underneath here, we got these cool, super modernist welded legs like this. Those, I believe I actually got from Poland, of all places. The wonders of the internet for, I don't know, maybe $200-300. I got these things custom made, custom welded, brass finish, 2 of them sent over, and all you do is basically screw them to the bottom of this thing, and you get this great kind of modernist look to it. And I think it's a good mating between sort of the modernist, but also white oak. I love oak. So this thing is super solid, right? That quarter sawn oak, the rift and the regular white oak is so stable, you're not gonna get all this crazy racking, warping, curving, bending, things like that. It's likely that if I can keep this in a temperature controlled place, the lifespan of something like this is endless for the most part. So really cool there. All right, let's turn this sucker around. I'm gonna wet my whistle and then walk you through this little selection of stuff right here. Okay, starting with picture in the corner here. This picture in the corner here was made by one of my master craftspeople, Tina Kerber. Not only is she an award-winning painter and restorationist, she is also a super fine artist as well. She does those line drawings for the company. So what you'll see a little bit later, I have more of these around the office, but every once in a while I can talk her into spending some time doing something like that. And they're usually done from meaningful projects. That was a doctor's house in New Prague, a historic restoration that she was part of, and absolutely wonderful project. Cabinet up here. So this is actually I made as a charging cabinet lots and lots of years ago. It's made out of solid white oak. I did a Danish oil finish on it. I French polished it with shellac because I'm a nerd, and then I waxed it in the traditional way. So I like testing my traditional skills every once in a while. It's not something I would probably do in a house because shellac, honestly, it's beautiful, it's traditional, but it doesn't really hold up to a lot of stuff. It's super brittle. A lot of times you really dig into it, you can scratch it off. But it polishes like nothing else. And French polishing is a technique they actually use on violins where you take cheesecloth, and you make it into a ball, and you actually soak the cheesecloth with shellac, and you actually pad on French polishing the shellac over and over again, and the stuff dries so quick, just about every pass you take, build another layer. You can polish it. I did mine with some steel wool, progressive steel wool, and then I used a paste wax over the top to give it a feel. Honestly, it's like polished stone. It's an amazing thing when you look at it. But a charging station, because it's got these slanted things, slanted shelves in it, and slanted like this, and the back is open so that you can run charging cords through it. And in my old house, there was actually an outlet behind it, so all my phones, all my devices could sit in there like that. And yeah, it's a super fun thing to do. Printer here with all the people's stickers who sent them to me over the years. This is my banking basket here, so I got all my deposit slips, checkbooks, things like that. I still do all the deposits and the banking in the company, so when things come in, I got a system, pull that out, get the letters ready and go. This was actually given to me in my first trip to Brazil by a guy whose company name is Soft Color Pinturas. And he made this out of a piece of wood from the rainforest for me on my first visit. And I got this all the way back. This is super heavy rainforest wood. It's beautiful stuff. He hand did all this and hand finished it. And this has a special place in my war room now. Another Brazil artifact is a handmade trophy from Joel Ramos, one of my friends down there in Brazil. And he's kind of known for this sort of thing where they take the brush and you get the epoxy and things like this, but he hand delivered this thing to me. And he took buses and planes and bicycles and he walked and he made it to one of my lectures in 2018. And I got a big kiss from him on the cheek. We were so happy to see each other because we knew each other from the internet there all the time. So. All right, Paris. I see Paris saying here, I'm taking shots. Everyone Nick Slavik talks. Oh man, that's hilarious. So you're gonna see more in here. I actually just took some white oak out of here because I had so much of the stuff around here. We redecorated and we updated, so you're gonna see that theme around here. This is all my non-interesting stuff down here, like office-y stuff, stamps and staples and things. I just don't like people to see, so we have a basket system here. The only thing of note would be my book, my basket of books for people. We are going through Traction as a leadership team. We just finished it. We read chapter by chapter and do exercises and takeaways. Get a Grip is the novelized version of Traction that I sometimes give to my leadership team. And then our next book, the secret book for our book club, is going to be Grit. We are going through Grit as a leadership team. My entire company is starting leadership training in January. It's a voluntary program. 2 times a month they're meeting with me, and we're basically using all the stuff I've been coached on and methods I've been coached on over the years to basically disseminate through the rest of the company. So their first book will be Traction. So looking forward to that here. That's awesome. All right, moving on. We'll kind of go counterclockwise around here. One of the most special things I have in the war room. This is my little historic home in New Prague. And master craftsperson Tina, trainer Tina, did this for me. So it's an absolute wonderful thing. It captures our little house, our little neighborhood. It's even got my little daughter Nugget's apple tree. When every one of our kids were born, we planted a fruit tree. And her tree is 13 years old now, and we actually took all of our kids' fruit trees from this house and transplanted them to our little orchard right out here, so it stays with us. Things that are important to us. Remember, we like to surround ourselves with substantial things, things that outlive us, and things that have meaning, and basically that is it. So, all right. Paris, pour yourself a shot, my friend. This is white oak, and I was really inspired. You can see all the medullary flex here. This is a clock. I'm not a great clock maker, so this one doesn't keep great time, but it was an exercise in two things for me, which is working brass, this is a solid plate of brass that I hand pounded and formed and everything else. I formed all the pieces of the clock here, but I was really inspired by this historic estate that we visited that had this historic green finish. This is actually a thing. These sort of transparent craftsman-y, maybe from 1905 to 1925. Some people really incorporated one of these cool kind of like greenish finishes, and I did mine on white oak. I used a craftsman style clock, and obviously I need some clocksmithing experience, but it was fun working brass. It was fun working the white oak, and Paris, that's about 3-4 shots in that one. So I know you're not a heavy drinker, so I'll call you later and see how you're working. So, all right, poster down here. I am a sponsor of my daughter Nugget's high school dance team, competition dance team. So they were nice enough as part of the sponsorship to give me a beautiful poster of all the girls there, and it's absolutely awesome. So my binoculars, we keep those here because you can see at least 2 of my hunting spots in this property from this very window right here, 2 different deer stands. You can see our pond, our creek, our marsh, woodland, old barn, and old farmstead right from here. So fun place to be. All right, let's keep on moving. All right, here's something that Jason Paris likes to make fun of me for. I have a poster of myself in my office. Hold on, I'll be right back. I feel like I should take a shot for mentioning a poster of myself here, so. This is a poster, a super dramatic poster of me, the first time that I visited Brazil in 2018. This was a gift from them to me. It's sort of commemorated what we did. These showed up at all the things that we went to. Oh, Aaron Steininger, the Great Clips guy. Yes, actually, you know what? I noticed in my local Great Clips, they have taken that poster down, and I was trying to catch them to see if I could get it to put it up here, or at least give it to Jason Paris to put it in his office, because it's a close facsimile to me. But I missed it. They redecorated our Great Clips, so I'm not there. But anyway, fun thing. Now, pheasant, right? Lots of people have mounted animals and things there. Now, this one is the first pheasant that I ever shot on this Slavik farm with a friend, Dave Olson and I. We had his dog out there, and this is legitimately, before we even lived out here, we flushed this thing up, Dave and I both shot, and dog retrieved it, and this is the first pheasant that we ever got on this farm. This has been about a 7 or 8 year journey for us. We stock pheasants out here every year, thanks to my friendly Sherwin-Williams rep, Wes. He brings out maybe 50, 75 pheasants a year. We manage all this land out here, so deer, turkey, pheasant, and all the other little critters have a place to live out here. And I'm not just one of those hunting things, you know, have more deer so you can shoot more deer. I'm about the whole biome out here. So I know that if you make a habitat suitable for pheasant, deer, and turkey, it's very likely that pollinators, worms, little amphibians, frogs, lizards, toads, insects, everything, all that stuff that really makes land substantial, they're gonna do better out here as well too. So along the theme of that means a lot to me. And I'll show you a couple other animals that I have here. I'm not a typical guy who just, hey, get a big animal, put it on the wall, and it's cool because it's big. This is not a remarkable pheasant. It's not old, it's not grand, there's nothing special about it, except for the fact that it's the first thing that we ever got out here, which is very special to me. So take this down a notch here. So when I was in the Army in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, craft breweries, craft beer was not a thing yet. Everybody just drank light beer or whatever, and you'd go out and you would have either hard alcohol or wine. There was a place called Husk Hardware House down in Fayetteville, North Carolina, where I had my first IPA ever, and this was probably back in 2000, give or take. And yeah, it's a wonderful thing. My wife actually bought that for me before I got out of the Army because we liked the place so much. And it was sort of a really cool thing to experience an IPA for the first time. This year, Logan Beeran, a young craftsperson of mine, a college student who's into historic iron and metalworking, I needed awards for my company for our annual Christmas party. And so he made me bottle openers, but in the shape of a painter's tool and hand forged. Look at that. All hand forged out of iron like that. And I told him, I'm not going to give myself an award, but I just want one. And he actually inscribed all the names of the awards on these things. So I have other stuff over on the other side to show you as well too, but very important to me. Themes of things here. A key is cool, but this key goes to this historic door. It's not just a beautiful object, it's a useful object. This skeleton key will lock this door to my office, so we still keep it around. It's the original key, most likely 100 to 110 years old. Solid brass, beautiful piece. Okay, theme you're gonna see here is lots of books. So I'll turn this around for you. You're gonna see themes of three major things in my office, which are old stuff that happens to be wilderness related, there is business related stuff, and then there is craft related stuff, historic restoration, architecture, things like that. You can see we got Field Guide to American Houses, craftsman catalogs. This is a good one here. If you guys have never read this one, Charles Eastlake. He was such a good designer. They actually named a style of decorating after him, Eastlake design, which is one of my favorites. So this is a paperback. It's a little dusty paperback, but basically this has been in print for probably 100, 120 years, and it's sort of a Bible of the Eastlake style of stuff like that. So I like reference items like that a great deal. So you can see reference items for architecture and historic stuff. You can see the the Jack London, the Daniel Boone, Florida beaches. When my family goes down there, we like to read about all the critters that we see down there. And then it just kind of continues. We got some classics mixed in like that, like a Jack London, a Jules Verne, things like that. But what you're going to see is a lot of this stuff, which is, craftsman homes, Victorian homes, arts and crafts, historic homes of Minnesota, things like that. We got woodworking. These are really cool too. These are reprints of the 1897 Sears catalog. So if you're ever interested in, hey, what would my Victorian home look like? There is no better place than to go to the catalog where all of it came from if you're looking for it. Like, you can look at old pictures and things like that, but those things are absolutely beautiful. Another thing you'll find too, I do have some old stuff. This is actually a little fly thing. You can see here, these are flies from my grandfather that I keep. Obviously, we're not going to be using those, but not only are they a family thing, they're actually old and outdoors related, which is really cool as well too. So yeah, other books mixed in, nothing really remarkable about this stuff, but all things that I've looked at, things that I reference, things like that. Fun to do. All right, one thing I did forget is alligator gar. So up here, the fish, I get a lot of questions about this fish because it doesn't look like a normal fish. This is one of the closest things to a dinosaur we can get besides maybe like an alligator currently on Earth. This is called a gar. It's got that crazy mouth up there with all those crazy teeth. Its entire skin is covered with this armor-like scales that is nearly impenetrable. You almost have to cut it open with a wire cutter or a tin snip to get those things open. But dinosaur fish, and it lives in the lakes right around here. You can just go fish them. They even allow you to shoot them with bows and arrows here. I caught this one on a rod and reel when we were just summer fishing for pike, and I thought it was so cool. Kept it, and you know what? It's a dinosaur. It's an almost unchanged thing for hundreds of millions of years, and it's a really cool thing that's just swimming right around here. Next fish up here. I have 2 pike in my office. Oh, let's see if we can get a better picture of this one here. Pike are very near and dear to my heart because most people do not like them. They consider them kind of trash fish or rough fish. I know why, because they have extra bones in them called Y bones that people do not like taking out. Walleye, you just fillet that sucker, eat it, it's fine. You have to go through one extra step here. So people are like, oh, I don't like pike or whatever. This is the only fish I really fish for. So this fish is a very special one too. I have a poster over there of a house that Sherwin-Williams kind of partnered with me on, and then we got into a magazine about a 19-teens replica cabin in the wilderness of northern Minnesota for a very special client of mine. They built this thing from the ground up to basically look like a historic cabin or cottage that was in the Northwoods of Minnesota. Tiny little lake, crystal clear, beautiful lake. I went out there one time with the client, and we were just, checking up on the house, doing some things. We recreate together every once in a while. We went out there, and he'd never speared before, so we went out there spearing. About an hour into it, the biggest pike of my life came by. It's about a 20-pound pike. I think it's about 39, 40 inches, give or take, but it was speared on the lake where we this tiny little lake that we got that house in. A very special lake for him. So on to the next one here. So this is one of the first sort of noteworthy pike that I've ever caught. This was again spearing in a lake in southern Minnesota. Everybody's out there partying. Everybody's got the big cabins out there. They're watching football games and other things. And I trek to the other side of the lake, the hardest place to get to. And I sit in my little spear shack with my wood stove, and this guy comes by, and I throw my spear at it, and he turns away so quickly, I hit him in the tail, so I'm dragging him back. It's not an ideal thing. I pull him back, he wiggles off, I throw the spear again, get him, pull him in, and that's that. So very meaningful pike for me. It's one of the first real big fish that I got. It was in southern Minnesota, right around here. People think you've got to go to Canada and stuff for this. If you go to the spot on lakes where people don't like to walk because it's a pain in the butt, or they can't get their big satellite dish, stove including fish houses out there, that's a place to go. I like adventures like that. So Paris, get your shot ready. We got some white oak here. Another clock I made, this one a much more simple one. This is probably 10, 12 years ago, but white oak again, this stuff regular riffs on. And in a time past, I had this little furniture shop before I had kids. I had plenty of time to make furniture and stuff too. So I started with little objects like this. I progressed to some other things, and then had kids, and then priorities took over. And honestly, I don't miss it that much. It's fine. It was a good creative outlet for me, but between the craft and growing a business and then kind of mentoring the next generation of people in this, I really get that itch scratch. I would love to do it again, but there's other priorities right now. So yeah. Down below here, what you'll see is this is my land right here, and we have it broke off into, I believe, management areas, 5 different management areas there. And I have the help of a prairie restorationist who knows all the biomes of Minnesota, and we're working on each one of those things. And you can see we have a time chart over here. This is last year, this is next year, year after, and we're doing a whole bunch of really fun stuff there. So actually what's really interesting is that this unit back here, management 3, was all woods, but it was the bad woods. It's all scrub trees and they fall over and it's not great habitat. So what we did, we actually took all those trees out and we put in, I want to say 400 trees, trees with nuts, hardwoods, white oaks, Jason Paris, in back there. So now we're actually regrowing a substantial mast producing wood back there. So we have goals here for the farm and then for the family that we're working on as well. Just a reminder to me of a lot of that stuff. All right, we have the fish corner here. This is my wife. My wife helped me out with this stuff. For those of you who don't follow Toots around, you guys know that she is a world-class decorator, and she absolutely takes care of our house. We have a similar aesthetic, and if we have to put fish up, she helps me with a lot of this stuff. So again, substantial stuff. Traditional pike head like this. Again, another pike I speared, but I never see fish mounted like this. This is a very traditional thing. Back 1900 to 1920, people used to put the heads on the walls just like that. I thought it was kind of cool. I used to see it in old cabins. Again, winter fishing in a wilderness lake by myself. Get to that guy. This largemouth bass here is about a 5 3/4 pound largemouth bass, which doesn't make it too crazy, but I caught it ice fishing many, many years ago. I want to say 20 years ago with some friends when we were ice fishing with tip-ups. So you don't often catch a bass that big through the lake like that. Middle fish here, again, this is a smallmouth, but it's not substantial, except for the fact that it was the first time that I had ever gone on a real wilderness adventure in Canada. I have a friend who owns a place up there, also owns an island up there, which is crazy. And we took a float plane and we went to places where a lot of humans don't go at all. In fact, there's a whole bunch of really cool petroglyphs. I think I always forget the name, but the petroglyphs, like the cave art from Native Americans, First Nations people up there, which is really cool to see. But you got to take an airplane into the middle of the wilderness and then get around by canoe. And that was one of the fish that I caught up there like that. So not substantial. I don't catch many smallmouth. One of the first smallmouth I ever caught. Plus up there in the cool wilderness. So kind of neat. Different shells that I've used to hunt various things and harvest animals. Slugs that I've recovered. Like this, it's kind of fun to see how these things work, but I keep this mementos of a lot of the times. And yeah, what's really been nice about this is I've been able to find taxidermists and things where they can actually save all the meat from these animals, and me and my family eat it. So symbolic, very symbolic of a lot of the meat that my family eats, and then a lot of the experience, the hundreds of hours we put into the outdoors every year as a family to do that sort of things, which is kind of cool. This is actually a 12 gauge slug shot at a cinder block wall. This is what happens here. I thought that was kind of cool. I recovered it. So, okay, onward. This house here, we call it the hashtag Cottage Cabin Project. You can actually go follow along and see all of it. This was a house that I partnered with Sherwin-Williams to basically say, what can we do that's just ultra premium, new, exciting? And this is the time when emerald trim urethane was brand new and wasn't really around the country yet. I was able to do one of the first houses in North America where we completely did cabinets, doors, trim, millwork, all this other stuff with this brand new emerald trim urethane stuff that everybody was hearing about. So it was really cool because it's up in the wilderness in northern Minnesota. Fun project. We actually camped out there. I camped in a place where bears were walking around. The clients told me after, of course, I was done up there, but didn't warn me before I went up and did that. But it was fun nonetheless. It was cool. There's actually a hand-painted oil painting of Main Street, New Prague too that I picked up along the years, which is kind of cool. So we got the big War Room TV. I got my neon light up above too. That was kind of a gift to myself when we built this place here. I thought it was cool to have a neon War Room thing here too. So, all right, turn this sucker around for you. This is a deer we actually got this year, me and my oldest son, Milo, Gator Boy, as everybody calls him. Again, not a crazy animal, but we got it together, and it was the first deer that we got from that new box blind that we built out in the back of the property. So very fun thing to do. Bottle of a Brazilian liquor called cachaça that I got back from Brazil. This was given to me as a gift in 2018. It is empty now, as you can see. Piece of driftwood from one of my adventures. And this is a whole bunch of the cool old books, cool old things that I collect, things like that. This is actually pretty cool. Safe Methods of Business. I thought this book was so cool. I found this when I was in college, actually. Here, I'll open this up for you. How mortgages are written. I thought this thing was so cool that I actually wrote one of my projects on business. I actually combed through this thing to see 100 years later what businesses or what sort of principles of business we still use. Now, there's some super outdated stuff about the sexes, about gender roles and things like that. But honestly, there's actually some pretty good stuff. It was a college report. Also, you find a whole bunch of these super funny old books like this here. I'm sure at the time they were very cutting edge and very useful. Most of them tend to be a little outdated right now, but otherwise, lots of cool stuff. Rockwell Kent, one of my favorite authors there too. We got a whole bunch of wildlife stuff. And then you're starting to see the military stuff in here too. I absolutely love the military books like that too. Back when I was a soldier, I used to just absolutely just go like crazy with those things. Also, some of the cool stuff here, you're going to see a couple cooking things. I like creating stuff. So Escoffier, if you guys have, that's like the Bible of cooking, give or take. Lots of fun old traditional things. Lots of fun wild game dishes in there too. So lots of fun stuff. One of my favorite artists, Edward Hopper, book of his work there too. but a lot of fun, sort of meaningful stuff in here. I would say I've probably read 25% of these, give or take. I'm actually not a very voracious reader, but cool nonetheless. Bowl, handmade from a friend in Eastern Europe that just got sent to me this year. Very cool local wood there, hand-turned, hand-finished, awesome piece, but centerpiece kind of the war room. I have a whole bunch of really cool stuff from my travels. This is a rock from a shore in Brazil that I brought back from a very meaningful place there. We got shells from Brazil, we got coral from Florida, rocks from my travels, things like that. Just a whole bunch of really cool kind of interesting pieces there like that. So, all right, put this sucker back in the stand here. So everything basically got updated, redone a little bit. It had been 2 years about since I've been in here, and I think it was just time for a refresh. All right, one of the themes that I've been working on here is my company has 5 core values, and I'm working on a project to get all 5 core values inscribed on meaningful objects. Again, with the theme here, on meaningful objects and that hang in here. So this is one of the first, obviously, quality always wins is a core value of our company. This is one of the first cabinet doors that I ever tested on. So when I started my first master's class ever, this is about 5 or 6 years ago, what I actually did was I took a whole bunch of the same oak cabinet doors. I had about 30 of them, and I tested everything, water-based, alcohol-based, oil-based, hybrid, all that stuff on these things. And because people say, hey, you don't use this, you do use this. And I'd say, well, listen, we all believe it and we kind of know it's true, but let's actually go through all the tests. This is one of the most popular water-based primers on the face of the planet over a fully prepped cabinet. And again, you can just scratch this stuff right off. And this is one of the ones that I use as kind of the evidence-based and science-based testing that I used for my first master's class ever, which is the perfect kitchen. How do you paint trim and cabinets and all that other stuff? And I actually use a science-based approach where I show you all of these cabinet doors, what I did, what I didn't, prep it, don't prep it, use the water-based, use the oil, and see how things work. So I like this one. It's basically encased in here. One of my craftspeople made this for me, which is really cool. So this, actually, I had to re-glue it. It had a crack and had some damage in it. So this is here drying, re-gluing, and then this is going up on the wall over here. And this is the sample cabinet door that birthed 1,000 sample cabinet doors. You can see the process here where we go from oak to golden oak to primer to top coat. And then this was the actual cabinet door that I carried around for years and years and years. Thousands of my clients have based their kitchen remodel off of this thing. And it was really cool because I took the 3 most used colors at the time statistically in my company and did those. Simply White, White Dove, and Navajo White. And so I carried this around to actually show people what it was. And for probably half a decade, this is what our cabinet business was based out of. We've since changed the actual top coat, so I don't carry this around because it's not the actual top coat we use, but the finish is almost identical, and the colors are certainly identical. But this is retired now. This has been a very meaningful thing. This has been probably a few 100,000 miles on my company vehicle with me doing estimates, things like that. Okay. The war room door. This door came from, really interesting. This war room has this beautiful wainscot in it like this. This was built by, I'll get to the door here in a second. This was built by hand by one of the finest craftspeople I've ever met in my life, Scotty Yeager, Yeager Homes. He's a guy about my age, shares all my same core values. We approach our craft and our family the exact same. We found each other and it was like love at first sight. I cannot get enough of this guy. He trimmed out my entire house. He helped me with the countertop glue ups. We just redid his historic home this last year, and it is a delight to work with him because what you'll see here, he hand built all this. And this is not drywall behind here. He actually did wood paneling behind here so that we could get it smooth enough. He put so much time and so much effort into all these moldings. You can see kind of all these crazy 90-degree turns and stuff. There is no caulking in any of that stuff. He fitted them so perfect and so tight that all I did was fill a couple pinholes that he put in, and he was actually very self-conscious about it. He was worried he's using too many pins. And I looked at this stuff, and there's no caulk in any of this stuff. And it stayed connected. It hasn't moved in 2 years of being here. So it's crazy what this guy does. And I couldn't be more blessed that he had the time to basically hand create all this stuff. He also did the picture rail up there, which you can't really see, but you can see my brass picture holders up there with the brass wire there. That's a very traditional way in old houses where you don't want to pound nails into plaster, so you actually mount your picture rail up there. It's got this curved top to it, and you actually put the hooks with the brass rail so your pictures don't get nails pounded into the wall, which is pretty cool. I tell you about this trim because, again, meaningful and substantial. My war room has the most new trim in the entire house because Scott had to build all this from scratch, basically. But the rest of my house, the Slavik house, is made from salvage materials from 3 main places. A friend over by Cedar Lake just a little bit ago remodeled a historic home, and we got a lot of doors and millwork from there. There's the historic Vesley schoolhouse, which was torn down, and the parish, we restored the church, and so when they were going to tear down the school, they graciously let us go in there and basically take whatever we want, and we salvaged everything. There's like 12-inch crazy baseboard, all sorts of doors, cabinets, trim, all my kitchen cabinets, not all of them, half my kitchen cabinets are actually historic cabinets from that old school building. The baseboard is and the doors. This was one of the entrance doors to the actual school. And what's really cool is it's hard to see, but there's actually chicken wire. Oh, you can see it there. This is actually chicken wire embedded in this glass. Now, this glass did not come from this door. I found it on another window. They actually got this fitted in for a security measure, I think into the nurse's office at one point. But I took that glass out, I refitted it to this door myself, cutting all the wires and snipping all the glass and stuff, and then basically redid this door. And I did this door in two ways to teach my craftspeople and other craftspeople when they come about historic restoration, which is, this door is great, right? It's bright. We took off all the old finish, but we did this in a mechanical way right here. So I did a lot of sanding. The downside of that is you can see in these corners and stuff, you can't quite get it all out because on an inside compound corner with crazy molding like that, you can't get a mechanical sander. So you can get it good, but you can't get it all clear. So this side was mechanical sanded and it's good, right? But it's not my preferred method. I'll show you the other side. Look at this side. Night and day difference. Look at how beautiful this is here. This is the original patina on here because I chemically stripped it. You can see, same door, same wood, same pieces of wood. This stuff was grinded down with sanders in the most respectful way. This side was chemically stripped. I would sort of, my opinion is that the finest craftspeople on earth will respect the patina of the door, respect all the moldings and that. You get a more even color. All I did was very tastefully remove the failed old finish and apply my new finish, leaving 100 years of wear and tear on here. Also, I found this really cool artist in Minneapolis, and she came down here and hand painted all that stuff, which is really cool. It's all oil paint put on there. But hardware too. All this hardware. Oh yeah, my friend, Historic Design Consulting, Mark Johnston. This thing got kicked in at some point because the building was abandoned, so the old fir, the straight grain fir was snapped. So he actually put in, I found a cool piece of mahogany. He put in a Dutchman right here and rebuilt it out of mahogany because mahogany is more dense. Now, you'll see the hardware doesn't quite line up on this door. This is a smaller end, and this is the bigger end. I actually flipped it because I wanted the more grand side facing in towards here. So I took all the mechanicals out from this door, and you can actually see the locking mechanism here. This is how you used to lock these old doors, the push button. Still got the deadbolt working too. I took out all the mechanisms, cleaned them up, polished them. So what I didn't do, again, was take all this hardware down to bare metal. A lot of this stuff had a very kind of, not very durable finish. It's sometimes antique coppered, aged copper, things like that. So again, I take off the grime and I polished it with paste wax. So this stuff is smooth and polished, but I did grind it down to bare metal because most of them are just stamped steel and they weren't all that special. They're not solid brass and things like that. But you can see, it's a meaningful door to me. My wife and I got married in the building right next to there. This building doesn't exist anymore. This thing would have got shoved in a landfill had it not been for me and my people salvaging it and putting it here. Now, it'll outlive me and my kids. A meaningful thing. It's also better wood and a better door than what you can buy today, and it was basically free to me. So, again, 2 philosophies of restoration. Grind it down or restore. I think you understand why I practice all this stuff, because just making something old, doing this, it's fine, right? But it's not as cool as leaving the patina there. So All right, make sure I don't forget anything here. Oh yeah, another Tina picture. So this was a really cool one. This is the first exterior project we did maybe 3 years ago. A very good client of ours built a 3-season porch off there. We captured a picture and Tina did that. So it's kind of new stuff, but she has a way of being an artist where she captures that really, really well. So, all right. My wife found me this. This is one of those cool old pictures of historic New Prague. So you can see this is from kind of the 4-way stop in New Prague, all the old buildings, all the old cars. This is a great thing. I just love this sort of thing. Came in with a weathered wood frame that we got it from the local garage sale site. I haven't done anything with it yet. It's fine. I think it's really cool. So, all right. Parker Johnson was on here. So Parker, Parker actually, I think for 2 days when it was super cold, we had a couple days to go to that Vesley schoolhouse to salvage all that millwork and doors. And there was no heat in the building, and all of our craftspeople loaded up all of our vans, and we were ripping stuff out, transporting back here, and it was a really cool thing. Parker was helping with that too. So, all right. Next big project, and this is kind of the impetus for the war room redecoration, is this crazy wall of stuff. The two main things on here are going to be my core value project, which is one of the best artists I know, Sam Hardy. He used to be a craftsperson for this company. This is actually a piece of woodwork from that Vesley schoolhouse. It was very meaningful to us, a piece of straight grain fir. I had him hand paint and scribe discipline equals freedom, which is one of our 5 core values. Now, what you'll see are 3 other cabinet doors up here of meaning to me. There's that other cabinet door down there, quality always wins. The 3 other ones, I'll take our other 3 core values and put them on here. Interesting things about these are, this is my first ever high gloss Fine Paints of Europe door here. Really cool project. Zach Kenny himself taught me how to do it. I helped him write the SOP. He had the SOP, I just codified it, used it for myself. He coached me along the way. So again, blessings to Zach Kenny and all you gloss Fine Paints of Europe guys. It's fun working with you. This next door is Fine Paints of Europe primer, which honestly, when you look at the finish on that thing, it's better than a lot of painters do with cabinet finishing. That Fine Paints of Europe primer is so awesome. Now, why is this significant? I sprayed this door in front of the owner of Fine Paints of Europe, John Leahy, and he watched me with Zach Kenny. They were both standing there like this in Zach's spray booth, and I did this. So, very interesting. 29 years of experience, and I was still nervous spraying in front of those guys, which is really cool. The next one here, this cabinet door, again, this is along the line of those test doors I do. This is kind of confusing, right? It's a standard oak cabinet door. It's a really crappy finish on it. In fact, you can see here where it pulled up, it's about 32 times too thick. It didn't cover here, this and that. Special about this is the first one my oldest son ever sprayed. It must have been 4 or 5 years ago. He was just a little tyke. I was out in the finishing shop and he was with me that day. And I said, you know, we got one of these old test doors. Let's let him have it. So we got my dad's old Titan sprayer, the first real sprayer that my dad ever had. We loaded that up with enamel. I let little Milo have it. And of course, it's like a video game. He points it at the corner, holds it, and immediately paint rushes off the corner. But I inscribed it in the back. And one of our core values is constant improvement. Milo was 5 or 6 years old at the time and did this. I'm sure he will constantly improve, but it's a nice reminder that it would be cool to see the first thing that I ever sprayed. I kept my son's first thing that he ever sprayed, and it'll be codified for our company for time and eternal. Award for participation in an economic gardening group up there. And then the awards start here. So one of the things, we kind of had awards everywhere. They're kind of just in different forms and that. I finally just put them all in there. I won't go through each one. But yeah, we get APC Top Job Awards, PCA Awards. Both of those awards are actually, well, I think the PCA one is closed now. But the APC magazine, I think you may still be able to submit if you guys haven't. But I wanted to honor all the people in our company that get these things. And so I just put it in a little better way up here. One of the ones I will talk about, though, is very proud of this one here, PCA Craftsman of the Year in 2018. It was an awesome year. First time in Brazil. Also, big national award for Craftsman of the Year. And boy, that was an interesting submission process. I had to kind of basically justify to everybody in the country why I would deserve that. And for any of you who know Minnesotans, we get very self-conscious about that sort of thing. So not an easy thing, but very glad we put in the time. Oh, sorry, Sig. Sorry, bud. Sig's right underfoot here. All right, so we got brushes. My favorite interior cut brush, my favorite enamel brush. Sig actually chewed on this one. Sorry, dude. These actually have paint from this house build on them. And I thought, when I was using them in here, I'll just dip them in the paint, let them dry, and then we'll just leave them here. I thought it was kind of a cool thing like that. So, all right, one of the first signs I used for Ask a Painter, back probably 4.5 years ago, I used to have, back when we really didn't know how to use Facebook Live, we actually used to start the live stream and sit there and wait till there were a bunch of people on, because you didn't want to just talk to nobody. And that's not how it works now. And it wasn't how it worked then, but we didn't know it. So I used to actually have this sign up while I was getting ready. I would fire up the feed for 4 or 5 minutes, and when there were people watching, then I'd start the feed like that. So, but it's a laminated sign that I used to have, and it's kind of cool. I used to carry it around in the field with me here. So antique pictures, things like that, perch, eel, and pike. These two black and white pictures are from a friend of mine when we went to that wilderness trip in Canada. He's an old-timey photographer. He's got like wooden tripods. He's got the crazy cameras where you throw the hood over and all this other stuff. Stuff that I don't understand, but it's super old-timey. I helped him lug all that crazy antique camera gear into the wilderness, on a plane, on boats and canoes, up and down streams, rapids, waterfalls. He took these pictures, and I just thought, well, he's a crazy arty photographer. He's just gonna use them for whatever. He dropped these things off for me, and they're very meaningful to me. They're a waterfall where we caught tons and tons of walleye and pike up there, and then a little burned out island where we stayed the night here. I made the frames, Jason Paris, out of white oak up there for those things, so that's awesome. Wallpaper and wall brush, super old brush that I got from an old wallpaper hanger when he retired. So I thought it was cool. It must have been around for 40, 50 years at least, and great condition, horsehair. Same thing with this thing, just kind of a standard 4-inch stainless steel ferrule horsehair. Really, really cool kind of old brush, and why they haven't been used up in all that time, I don't know, just kind of cool. This corner was kind of my wife's idea here. We did a grand historic restoration first thing in spring. We called it the Big Green Restoration because it was this crazy house in Le Sueur, Minnesota. I've known since a kid. It's a crazy stick-style Victorian mansion. It is basically this color, sea mist green, the whole thing. And I worked with a client, a very demanding client, on coming up with some potential other color schemes for it. And what's really cool is that I found a historic picture of the home, probably a turn of the century, 1900s there. Super grainy, but it's really cool to see all the original detail. And that was the first time that I ever got to walk onto the property and in a snowstorm and do the estimate and actually inspect that house that I knew. I've known that house for 35 years, give or take. And it's always been this thing of my dreams to get my hands on it. We finally did this year. And what's really cool is that my Sherwin-Williams store, and Katie, the store manager there, who's a huge partner with the company, I asked her for drawdowns to get color approvals. And when I got these 3 color drawdowns back, they were so beautiful. It's like we're framing those and those are getting put up in art. So there's a very historic design scheme is called the it's this theory of like 3 different colors of the same color scheme on a house. And you go light, you go medium, you go dark, obviously mainly body, trim, accent, things like that. That's how they were historically used. We did a little bit different on this house. This piece of bracketry right here, our on-staff carpenter, Steve. We all know one loves Steve. He's the guy who supports our painters every day, in and out, doing all the carpentry stuff that nobody wants to do. He actually made this template because we had to replicate a whole bunch of historic trim on this house and fix it all up. And Steve spent probably, I don't know, must have been a week and a half there doing that stuff. This is a piece of cedar that he cut out to make new bracket work as a template for it. So really fun to still have that. And Steve gifted me that to me after the project, which I thought was really cool. So, Sig, how's it going, bud? All right, I'll take you through my little vignette right here. So this is another little shelf of things. My wife got me an oil diffuser, and we did find some cedar and some other stuff here. So this actually makes the office smell really good. This shelf here are my quick reference books. I'm actively working through these here. This is my next set of reading here. Hopefully this will take me less than 20 years because I don't get around to much reading. But I'm trying to stay about 3 or 4 books ahead of my coaching, of my leadership team, and then of my company with our book clubs and things that we do. So I'm always trying to find the latest stuff. Samples of our latest sort of finishing system, bare primer, and then enamel like this. Just we tested them on oak and on maple and things like that, but I thought they were just kind of beautiful. It's satisfying to see. These hand-blown glass things are actually awards from 2018. Asha Bazanson, who was a craftsperson for my company, moved up north and started her own painting company, but she's a glass blower. And just like those handmade iron awards, she hand created all these for the company and also made some for me too. So super meaningful objects like this. You could see she actually engraved NSPRC, oh, there we go, NSPRC 2018 on there. And I think she got the little paintbrush in the corner there too. So very meaningful. Crazy deer, first buck I've ever shot. And it had all sorts of gnarly antlers broken off, evidently, but this is how I found it. Massive, massive deer. But first buck I ever shot. So how you doing, bud? Just hanging out. All right, these are my PCA estimating guides, history of the PCA, other kind of weird referencey price guides for the industry, production rate sort of stuff. Other books that are kind of in my queue right here, things that I reference often. We do have a bunch of really cool stuff like this, these historic books. I keep some of the more special ones in here. Anytime we find these, obviously they're coming home with me. One of the coolest books I've ever found is this old thing. This thing is almost falling apart, but this is Modern Painting, Hardwood Finishing, and Sign Writing. And this sucker is old. And this is a lot of reference stuff for actual sign painting and woodworking and things like this, but barely holding on. But stuff like this is super cool, super meaningful, and almost tough to read that stuff because every time you open it, it doesn't seem to help it out any. So other references here, these are actually things that every time I found helpful articles in paint magazines and woodworking magazines, wood finishing, I would save them as a reference. We got a box of cigars, a couple left over from our Ask a Painter summer retreat, which is really cool. I got a crazy matcha tea cup from Brazil that somebody brought me with a bale of matcha tea down in the corner there. This was made by a friend of mine in Washington out of a piece of historic cedar and then I think Baltic birch maybe, but all little sandpipers like that. And for those of you who know Corey Leister, I couldn't have been more honored that she actually named a paint color in her own paint line after me, Honest. It's that cool blue color. And I got a quart, and I'm not going to use it. Well, I was going to use it for a project in here, but I thought, you know what, it's so cool. We're just going to leave that as a meaningful object from now on. So, all right, back in the corner, my antique Mission rocking chair. I got my travel bag with all my computer and stuff. And of course, my Rambo bandolier that I got from the Army, things like that. Kind of fun stuff. More pictures from trainer Tina, craftsperson Tina. This is a new home we actually did with a basketball court inside the house, which is cool. And then a modern historic restoration that she was a part of. I think she might have been on there twice. I can't remember, but at least once. But this is a home, too, that was built probably 30, 40 years ago, but fashioned after a Victorian that we've done a lot of work on. This is a piece of, this is that picture rail up there. So you can see that's the molding that's up there that holds all this stuff. And you can see how those hooks go on it like this. That is the two colors on there are actually one custom color. The orange is a custom rusty pumpkin-y color that I use for my Craftsman house. I've wanted to paint a house orange since I was a little kid. Nobody would ever let me, so I made my own orange, and I painted my own house orange, and I couldn't be more happy with it. This color is actually Sherwin-Williams Ecru, which was all the trim on my house. I absolutely love this combination. This orange was actually on this house right here, an Ecru trim. So you can imagine those colors on a historic Craftsman home are perfect. Now, I didn't paint my house orange out here because it's a different style house, and I thought white or off-white would have been a little bit better and cleaner. So, but otherwise, very important to me. So, all right, man, a long journey around the old war room here, everybody. I appreciate it very much. It is Monday night, it is time for family time for me. So we're gonna hunker down, we're gonna watch a movie together, and then it'll be Secret Mission on a plane with Mr. Paris tomorrow as we go somewhere special and get some stuff done. So, all right, everybody, I do appreciate you doing this. Man, that was a long time talking. Holy cow. I do appreciate you watching. Mark Blackhurst, have you dealt with the paint shortages throughout the year, substituting materials, supply chain? Oh yeah, has it changed the way you estimate? No, I will tell you guys this. People love to beat up our paint manufacturers. If you remember a time before supply chain interruptions, there's annual price increases every year. People act like this is some brand new thing, that this is some novel thing. Everybody does it every year, folks. Inflation is anywhere from 3 to 5%, and we were getting 3 to 4% price increases every year. So it was probably keeping up with inflation. This last year, with the supply chain stuff, there was a temporary one that I believe is done now. Well, actually done this week, January 31st for some companies. And then the price increase is going to effect. But if you think about it, folks, I did the math for the painter Facebook there, where people were kind of really complaining about that sort of thing. And basically what it came down to is, if you can figure out a way to make another $1.29 of revenue per hour, you cover more than any price increase, even if it's up to 14% on your materials for the entire year. So I will tell you this: gravity, tide, weather, all things we can't control. Guess what price increases are? Those are things you cannot control. So again, you can feel the way you want to feel about them, but if you're gonna spend effort in something, do not spend your effort in rallying against the tide, in gravity and weather and price increases. You're not gonna stop these manufacturers, and every one of them does it, from increasing prices. But what you can do is work on you and your people, because materials are 15%, 10 to 15% of a job. Your labor is somewhere between 40 and 60%. So guess where the low-hanging fruit is? There is one thing that you can control more than anything else: your labor and your people's labor. And it's 40 to 60% of all your revenue. So I will say this: sure, keep an eye on materials, test, retest, find alternatives, do whatever you can. But that's not what's keeping you from profitability and success. It's just not. It's a limiting belief, and it's something that we need to get over with and actually focus on our own effort. So it's interesting, yeah. If you were to increase your if you're selling work at a production rate of $70 an hour, give or take, if you charge $71.29 this year, guess what? You just negated every single price increase and then some this year. So what's easier? That's what I'll put towards you. All right, see what we got here. I really enjoyed the show. You're interesting. Oh, you're so interested about it. Oh yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. So it is time. I can hear my kids starting to wrestle on the other side of that wall. They want to watch a movie with me, and I don't blame them. So I'm going to punch out. We're going to do some family time. Just thank you guys for being along with the journey. If you want to come pheasant hunting with me on my farm, we are doing it this week, Friday. I will post a link in this show notes afterwards. I wasn't able to tag the thing here, but you guys are welcome with me this Friday. I think we're going 10 o'clock pheasant hunting, starting out here. Bring a dog, bring some guns, and let's see, it's the last day of pheasant hunting, I believe. Well, one of the last days of pheasant hunting of the year. And let's get out here, folks. I'd love to spend some time with you if you're able. And thank you for an awesome year. I have some very special things coming up with Ask a Painter. We're going to drill the basics again in early 2022. Those are some of my most popular shows ever, where we talk about estimating, job costing, production rates. It's a time where we have wiped our goal boards clean. Our profit and loss statements say zero. And you got to do something. You got to make a change. And we will come the start of the year. So follow along. I'll give you all the secrets of the fundamentals of running any kind of business, not only just a trades business, that have helped me. I'm not perfect at it, but I can give you a pretty good data point. So, all right, everybody. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of the week, and see you next time.